everybody, and welcome to Past Turns First podcast. My name is Evan. I'm here with my husband, Steve. Say hi.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about the unstable set and a little bit about how there's a lot of oversaturation in the market now in Magic the Gathering. So let's start off with the unstable set. A lot of it is obviously made to be silly and wacky. It is a draftable set. But there are a few functional cards in here that we've been looking at in terms of probably mostly Commander. However, we're looking at the game rules, and it's not legal to play them in competitions. So it's just going to be a kitchen table sort of deal here. But especially the contraptions, I think, are kind of functional because they work just like an equipment aura.
Yeah, well, you do have to have the separate library for those contraptions, so I think that if you were going to sneak that in or discuss that with your local play group, everybody will want to play with contraptions, so everybody can have that aspect, that extra card for themselves, because if you're not playing with contraptions, I think the person who is playing with them does have a slight advantage on them.
Yeah, for sure, because, I mean, there are a lot of them that have to do specifically with this set, and that's why I think that the unsets are good. This will be our first time ever drafting one, but they're sort of self-contained. They don't really need anything else. However, there's a couple that confuse me. Let me see if I can find it. One of them had to do with black bordered cards and white bordered cards, so I was wondering how that was going to work if the set is meant to be played by itself. I guess you would just have to choose, like we were saying, your kitchen table group, just your group of friends to use them in order to put those into your deck. Otherwise, it's illegal in competitions.
And I think that's the way that card was meant to be played. We may have to do a little bit more research on that specific card to make sure, but I think it's made for, because this is a fun set. This set should be used for your kitchen table. Like, if you have some friends come over and you don't have enough decks built for everybody, you should be able to get a pack, a couple packs of unstable set, and everybody draft them, or everybody build a constructed deck real quick. I think that's really what this set is made for.
Right. The card's called Border Guardian. It is a 4 colorless artifact creature knight. Whenever you cast a silver bordered spell, put a 1/1 counter on Border Guardian. Whenever you cast a black bordered spell, Border Guardian can't be blocked this turn. Whenever you cast a white bordered spell, Border Guardian gains double strike until end of turn. So in terms of the draft here, you're really just going to be looking at the 1/1 counters on it. But in your everyday game, if you want to stick it in there, then you can make it unblockable and gain double strike, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen much in the release when you're first playing it. So let's talk about some favorites that we've seen so far. You got anything that you think is just going to be like an ultimate game winner?
I've got I wouldn't say ultimate game winner because anything can happen, especially with these crazy cards. I am excited about the legendary planeswalker, and I'm very curious as to what they're going to put on askurzra.com.
Yeah.
Because right now when you click on it, it says come back on December 8th. And, I'm curious as to see what their options are on there. I think that's going to be pretty fun. I don't know how easy it's going to be to play all 5 colors in a draft, but if you draft that planeswalker, you should probably do it.
The card in question is Urza, Academy Headmaster for Woober. He's a legendary planeswalker. Urza, +1, head to askurzra.com and click the +1. The -1 makes you click the -1, and the -6 has you click the -6 all on that same website. And I guess we'll see.
So I guess you have to have a smartphone to use this.
Or maybe your LGS will have a computer or something that you can access. That's another thing that I'm sort of confused about, and I'm wondering how it's going to work, is a lot of the cards have you interact with other people in other games. Our LGS is, I wouldn't say it's small, but you got to be, one table right next to each other. If it's a one-on-one match, and there's, one of them makes you throw a card from 3 feet away and everything. So I'm like, how in the world is that going to work where you're not smacking people in the face with cards? And the high five, where you got to run around and give everyone high fives, and hopefully everyone's going to be a good sport about everything and just, aim to have fun and not necessarily, I have to win this, don't talk to me, leave me alone, sort of thing.
Well, you might find that too will also come up when you take it away from your local game store and you bring it to your home. You're doing it with people that you're close to. People that you would invite to your home, whereas an LGS is could be anybody, can go there and play with you. So I think playing it at home again is going to be the best way, because you'll have people that will play the same way you do.
They're going to be cool with that and not with you, not annoyed.
They'll have fun with it, and I'm hoping that our local LGS will have, everybody there will have some fun with it, and we know most of the people there, and I'm betting they will, but
oh yeah, for sure.
There are some people in the world, and I mean that happens. That's just how it is. But
the card I was talking about, throwing it 3 feet away. Let's see, that's called Fling Mantis. 5 green creature insect wrestler. Just a second. The reminder text says, as long as this spell is on the stack, players can't move cards on the battlefield. Slaying Mantis enters the battlefield by being thrown from a distance of at least 3 feet. When Slaying Mantis enters the battlefield, it fights each creature an opponent controls that it touched as it entered. And it is a 6/6, so if you got good aim, throw it like a frisbee, you might get some luck there and have it kill a few of your opponent's creatures.
Of course, that's if it doesn't knock your opponent's eye out.
Oh yeah, really. These cards are sharp. They don't have pointy ends, but you can definitely get paper cuts. Some of the other favorites we were looking at, Baron von Count. He's a 1 black and red legendary creature human villain. Baron von Count enters the battlefield with a doom counter on 5. Whenever you cast a spell with the indicated numeral and its mana cost, text box, power, or toughness, move the doom counter 1 numeral to the left. When the doom counter moves from 1, destroy target player and put that doom counter on 5. So you got to cast a spell that either has 5 CMC, has the word 5 in the text box anywhere, or the number 5, 5 in its power or toughness. So you have a lot of options there to cast a spell for 5, a spell for 4, 3, 2, and then 1. And then once it's moved off of 1, you just win. If you're in 1v1, you could just say, yeah, you lose. So that is going to be sort of interesting to play with.
Yeah, I think if that's in your first pack, that's a first pack pick right there.
Bomb, definitely.
Take that and play around that, I certainly will.
The other one that I really liked, Over My Dead Bodies, it's a 4 black enchantment. Creature cards in graveyards can attack and block as though they were on the battlefield, can block or be blocked only by creature cards in graveyards, are zombies in addition to their types, and have undeath touch. If they would deal damage to a creature card, exile that creature card instead. Creature cards in your graveyard have haste. So, graveyard shenanigans, for sure.
What?
Yeah.
That was a lot.
That is a lot. So, basically, the graveyard is pretty much all on the battlefield. All the creatures in the graveyard. But they can block or be blocked only by other creatures in the graveyard. They're zombies. And when they deal combat damage, they exile the other creature. So you're really just exiling creature cards that are in other people's graveyards, but that will help if they're able to use their graveyard as well. So that would be interesting.
Now, pairing that with the blue one that makes everybody's graveyards your graveyards. I think it's busybody.
Graveyard busybody, yeah.
I think that'll be kind of fun.
Oh yeah, for sure, because then there are no other people graveyards. There's just your graveyard, and your graveyard is everything. And then that would really make them unblockable. Here it is. Graveyard busybody, 4 blue, creature human spy. All graveyards are also your graveyards. Graveyard busybody's power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards with flavor text in your graveyards. So yeah, I mean, you just have not unlimited creatures, but you certainly have a whole lot of creatures. That would be an interesting, 2 cards to have out on the field combo, I guess you would call it.
Yeah, that's going to be, I think that's going to be an interesting combo. Especially if you're playing in a multiplayer setting game. Oh,
yeah. And I think that this set is going to be way more fun in multiplayer than it is on 1v1. I like 1v1 for stuff like standard, obviously, but, it gets old sometimes. And the more people you play with, up to a certain point, Commander games with 8 people, they're going to take hours. But, 4 to 5 people, and it, I think, is always more fun, because then you've got everything different going on. You got 5 different people doing 5 different things. And if they're people that you know well, then, you just have a lot of fun with them.
Yeah, what about the animate library?
That one is interesting, and I don't really see it having a downside. Animate library, 4 blue, enchantment aura. Enchant your library. Enchanted library is an artifact creature on the battlefield with power and toughness each equal to the number of cards in it. It's still a library. If enchanted library would leave the battlefield, exile animate library instead. Okay, well, only downside I see is it doesn't have trample, but other than that, that's pretty cool, because especially in Commander, you just have a giant creature. You just, wipe everything out that you can, and then swing in with your entire library and do anywhere from, 10 to 99 damage, depending on what you're playing and how fast you can cheat it out. I guess you couldn't technically get it out with 99 cards in your library because you have a hand, but still, it's pretty big. Squirrel theme is really fun.
Squirrel theme X?
Yeah.
X is kind of interesting too.
Blue-black, like the name of the card is just X, if you haven't seen it, just the letter X. Legendary creature, human spy. As long as X is in X's owner's opponent's hand, X's owner may cast X and activate X's abilities. That opponent can't cast X and plays with his or her hand revealed. And then it has 2 abilities. Blue-black tap, put X into target opponent's hand, and 3 blue-black, you may play a card in the same hand as X without paying its mana cost. Now this one I'm going to need some judge explanation on, because it's very confusing. So the only time you can activate its abilities is if it is in your opponent's hand. However, it has an ability to be able to put it in your opponent's hand, and I'm not sure how to get it there. That's my only question, because if you can't activate its abilities until it's in your opponent's hand, how are you supposed to get it in your opponent's hand in the first place? I'm not 100% sure how that works, but it does make your opponent have basically telepathy on a stick. They gotta play with their hand revealed, and then you can play cards in the same hand as X without paying mana costs. So free cards, it does cost you 5 mana, but hey, your opponent might have something worth 6 or 7 mana in there, and you might be able to play it without paying for it.
You could really dump your opponent's hand. Just use all their spells.
And you gotta pay for it each time, but yeah, I mean, if you had the mana, you just keep playing them all and giving them invalid targets or something like that, and just boom, hand's gone. My turn. Let's see what else we liked.
Now, I am a huge fan of the full arts, lands, and tokens. The tokens are awesome. I think I'm going to end up getting on one of the websites and buying a bunch of those tokens and using them as my regular tokens.
Oh man, the lands are just gorgeous. If you guys haven't seen the lands, you need to look them up. We're on mythicspoiler.com right now. It'll show you the entire set, and these lands are more than full art lands. They have no border, really. All they have is the name at the top and then the copyright at the bottom, but the rest of it is a solid picture, very similar to the lands that we've seen on the unsets in the past, but I want a full playset of all of them so that I can put them in my commander. The only thing that would be better is if they came in foil, which I don't know how foils work in unsets, but those would be some really, really pretty foils. There's a new watermark, not mechanic necessarily, but stuff about watermarks, stuff about dice. There's some cards that say you could play them with specific watermarks in the back for, X. This one, Secret Base lets you add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast a spell that shares a watermark with Secret Base.
There are 5 watermarks.
Oh, I see.
Order of the Widget, Agents of Sneak, League of Dastardly Doom, Goblin Explosioneers, and Crossbreed Labs. Those seem to be the 5 watermarks of the Unstable set.
Yeah, on Mythic Spoiler, it does have that at the top as well, and it'll show you the watermarks for each one. I would explain them, but it's a little hard to explain unless you look at them. But yeah, they're like 5 different factions, I guess you would call them. The Crossbreed Labs one is kind of fun, where you have your half and half cards. You might have seen them online already. 1/2 of the card is like a full, not a full art, but it doesn't have a right hand border because you stick it together with a second card. And the first half will read at the beginning, or something like the following. At the beginning of each end step, if you roll a die this turn, and then there's sort of a blank there where you fill it in with the other half of the card. And sometimes it's when a non-token creature enters the battlefield, when this creature deals damage, when you're dealt damage, at the beginning of each upkeep. There's a whole bunch of different ones, so there's a ton of combinations where you can stick these animals, or sometimes robots, together in order to get some really game-winning combinations. Let's see if I can look at some of them. The funniest one I've seen so far, there is a half kitten, and you can also make the other half a kitten. Half shark, half blank. There are host cards that are Big Boa Constrictor, Common Iguana, Adorable Kitten, Crafty Octopus, Dirty Rat, Feisty Stegosaurus, and then the other half goes in front, so it's half blank, half. So you have to really check out these cards because they're a little confusing to explain without looking at them, but basically they're mix and match effects that you can put together. There's a half squirrel. You can make a half squirrel, half kitten, half rhino, half robot. So there's, not endless combinations, but that's sort of close to it. Wild Crocodile says, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So you could pair that with when this creature blocks, or when a non-token creature enters the battlefield, things like that. So you could go pull out all of your basic lands if you had something for the front half that is just monstrous. I believe they're calling them augmented cards. Is that right?
The augment is not on the host card. It's either a host or an augment. So your host here doesn't have the augment ability, but the augment ability will be on a creature that is not a host, but will have to be attached to a host.
Go ahead.
Augment is, for instance, on the augment card Rhino. Whenever this creature whenever this creature blocks, and then it has augment, 3 and a white. Reveal this card from your hand. Combine it with target host. Augment only as a sorcery. And then it gets +1/+4. So, say you have a host creature, Shaggy Camel. Okay? It is a 3/3. Well, I augment and attach Rhino to the shaggy camel, it becomes rhino camel with the power and toughness of 4/7.
And then you get the effect whenever this creature blocks, creatures you control get 1/1 until end of turn. So yeah, that would be a good combination right there. Whenever you have 7 toughness and it blocks, then your creatures get 1/1. So again, some really good combinations that you can put together here.
I think the augment is going to be really fun, but in a closed set like this, it's going to be difficult, I'd say, to get enough augment and host cards, especially ones that share the same color, to be able to play those. Like, you're going to have to draft those instead of another playable card, because if you have an augment card and no host on the battlefield, then you have, what they call a dead card. So it's going to be a little difficult to draft these, I think. I think it's going to go a little bit better in maybe an at-home constructed deck play, probably.
Same thing goes with the contraption cards. When you're drafting, you're going to have to draft a few of those, because the way your contraptions work, you have a section of 1, 2, and 3, and then every time you, what are they calling it, crank or something like that's when you use it. Some cards let you put a contraption down, and I can't remember what the exact term they're using for it is, but whenever you're able to put one down, you can choose to put it on that 1, 2, or 3, and then every time you crank it, meaning you use it, you move your little counter from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 1, that kind of thing. Let's see if it tells me here what they're calling this mechanic. It's called assembling a contraption. They've got a bunch of different terms here. There's a contraption that when you crank it, it lets you assemble another contraption. So you can put that onto your 1, 2, or 3 column, and you can have, I guess, as many as you want in your 1, 2, or 3 column, and you can choose as many as you want whenever you get back to that column. So let's say you had one contraption on your number 1 column and one on your 3 column. Well, you crank your 1 contraption, so you have to move to your 2 column. There's nothing there. You can't do anything about it, so you have to wait to go to your 3rd column in order to crank your next contraption. Does it move at the beginning of your upkeep, or?
Yes, it starts off, you start the game with a counter on the 3rd sprocket. And it also says 1 follows 3. At the beginning of your upkeep, move the sprocket 1 over. So if it starts on 3, your next upkeep, so your second turn or your first turn, it's going to go from 3 to 1, then 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 each turn. However, you need certain cards to be able to assemble one of these contraptions. Like, for instance, Insight, Incite, INCITE, Assemble X contraptions. It's X blue. So you would have to have this card to be able to access your contraption library and assemble them to the sprockets.
Which are your columns. That's the word that they're using for it, because silly.
So if you draft contraptions, make sure you draft cards that allow you to assemble the contraptions. I think some of them are called riggers, like a goblin rigger. I know that's another subtype in this set. So keep that in mind. So now you're trying to draft contraptions, cards that allow you to activate your contraptions. You're trying to draft host cards as well as augment cards to attach to your host cards.
So basically have fun. The other thing about the contraption cards is that they are borderless, which gives them a really cool look because their artwork goes all the way outside of the little text box that you would normally see on a regular Magic card. So that artwork is full card pretty much. You can even kind of see it behind the text box. They've made them sort of opaque so that you can see the entire card's artwork. So those are really pretty, and I want to collect them all.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. This is our mid-podcast break. This is our very first episode, and we really appreciate you guys tuning in. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our channel real quick. We just started this YouTube channel, my wife and I. It's called Pass Turn, PASSTURN. You can find us on Facebook or Twitter, but mainly YouTube is where you're going to see a lot of our stuff. You'll even see it in the gaming section of YouTube. Just search Pass Turn and you'll see all our videos come up. They'll be separated in a different playlist because we'll have board games. We're going to do a lot of board games. We're going to have a lot of video games, a lot of gameplay there. And then, of course, we're going to have some Magic. We'll also have some D&D sessions on there, but they'll all be separated into certain playlists, so it should be easy for you to navigate the channel. Other than that, guys, thanks for hanging in here. Hopefully soon we'll be able to fill this spot with some sponsors, maybe some subscribers, and we'll get our Patreon all set up so you guys can help us out with everything. Just remember to hit that like button, subscribe button, and I'll let you get back to the show. Thanks for listening, guys. Now I'd like to jump over to the oversaturation in the marketplace regarding Magic the Gathering. I think Wizards of the Coast is constantly dumping product onto us. I mean, how many sets and different releases go about each year?
I think it's 4 now.
Like, for instance, we had a Modern Masters 2017. It is still 2017, and we just had an Iconic Masters released.
Which was not all that iconic, in my opinion. I would say there's a handful of really good cards. Maybe if I had to just put a number on it, let's see. The set of Iconic Masters was 249 out of 249. Less than half, I'd say, were things that really needed to be reprinted. Because, I mean, when you look at it, there are some in here that are vanilla creatures. Like, we don't need that.
Well, I know that they are going to put those in there, especially for a draft or a constructed thing, because you need those. You can't do a booster pack of 15, you can't have 15 rares or 15 mythics.
Why not?
Well, I mean, yeah, you could, because, I mean, it is just cardboard. Hello?
Yeah, we're paying hundreds of dollars for cardboard, guys, if you weren't already aware of that.
A mana drain is a piece of cardboard with color on it.
It's worth
Colored
about
on it.
$100.
And that's the thing is even with this reprint set coming out, this Modern Masters, the Iconic Masters, how many mana drains have we seen? Not that many, because the price is still expensive. I mean, I think Card Kingdom is still running them at $100. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a huge counter spell player. I'm not a blue player that often, and I mean, it's a good counter spell, but is it $100 worth of a counter spell?
It's like the same thing with Scarab God. Everybody is just amazed that Scarab God is going up so much. And, I mean, yeah, he's good, but, like, again, it's cardboard. And some of, like, the really, really old cards, I can sort of understand being expensive. They're not printing them anymore. There's only a limited amount of them. But these new sets, like the Scarab God and Mana Drain, I mean, they're continuing to print those. There's not going to be an extremely limited portion of those in order to make them skyrocket like that.
Oh, like, for instance, the gift pack.
Oh, God.
The gift pack that they've come out with, and we were just at Walmart today and saw this, and how awesome would it have been had was it a gift pack for $30? Let's say it's $30. Comes with 5 cards. Okay, we'll do 5 cards. And then we'll do the foil lands. Because, I mean, everybody likes foil lands. But you put in something like Force of Will. Okay? You have in a Force of Will, or Scarab God, or Birthing Pod, Cavern of Souls. Some of these cards that should be staples in certain decks, but they're just too expensive because there hasn't been that many printed of these certain cards. And if there are, whoever's got them, they're holding on to them. They're not selling them, so the prices are staying the same for some of those. But yet, we get a reprint of a Metalwork Colossus.
Oh, God.
Karizev?
It's not worth anything. That's the problem. The gift box is virtually useless. I mean, you could... I think it was the professor. He went over it and looked at the value and everything, and it's not worth what it's selling for. Let's see. For those of you that don't know about the gift box, you get 1 pack of Amonkhet, 1 pack of Hour of Devastation, and 1 pack of Ixalan. You get 2 promos, a Metalwork Colossus and a Karizev Skyship Raider. I believe they're both foil. And then you get a one of each of the foil lands. Are they the Rebecca Gay lands? I think they're some kind of... Oh, no, never mind. Mark Poole lands. The Shooting Star lands. That's what they are. But that's it. That's what you get. And a spin down life counter and a poster. Poster's worth 25 cents. Spin down life counter is probably worth 75 cents.
And the poster is just...
It's just a piece of paper.
If you really want to get an in-depth look at this, check out Tolarian Community College. The professor does a video where he opens up one, goes through different prices of it. It'll open your eyes to it. I think that as a Magic community, we need to not purchase these items. Now, let me say that again. We need to not purchase these items.
These items aren't made for us. They're made for Grandma, who knows that her grandson wants something called Magic the Gathering and goes to Walmart and sees this. Oh, it's a gift box, and in her mind, that's a great deal. He gets all this stuff for $20, and really, it's worthless.
And I think maybe Wizards of the Coast was going for this. I know it's a little similar to how Pokemon has one, something like this. But yeah, this is made for Grandma to say, she asks her grandson or granddaughter, oh, I want Magic cards. While I'm shopping at Walmart and I see these big packs, and they've got all this shiny stuff and a bunch of cards, and I don't know anything about Magic. Yeah, that's what I'm going to buy.
Yeah, that's what she thinks that it would be a good deal for them. The other one that is disappointing to me are always the Planeswalker decks. Now, I understand you get the Planeswalker, but why reprint the same cards in the set? All of these bulk commons that you're buying, you're better off just buying the single Planeswalker. There's 2 cards that are different in the whole set. You normally get something special that has to do with that Planeswalker, but otherwise I'm just rebuying all of the same cards that I've just bought, because we always buy a box. I know we're kind of the minority, but we buy a box for each set, at least 1, if not 2. So we have all these bulk commons already, and then you buy these Planeswalker decks, and it's just the same stuff. So now you've got 15 copies of a common that you definitely don't need. So for me, it's easier to just go on Card Kingdom or Channel Fireball and just buy the Planeswalker by itself if I really want it. That, and most of the time, they're not as good as the Planeswalkers that come out in the set.
No, they almost always, if not always, cost more mana for sure. And they just don't seem to have the good abilities. I mean, look at it. Look at the Pro Tour. Have you ever seen a planeswalker from the planeswalker deck being used in a Pro Tour deck?
Yep, no Liliana Death Wielder. Is that the right one? Yeah, Death Majesty came in the set, and Death Wielder came in the planeswalker deck. It's, I don't know.
And I mean, as funny as it would be to see Seth Manfield playing with the Watley Planeswalker deck on the Pro Tour, he wouldn't get very far. And I would hope that Wizards of the Coast would make a product that, you know, I've only played kitchen table games. You know, I don't have that much competitive experience.
But we're going in January to GP Houston. Woo!
So, anyways, and this is hypothetical. I go up to a local game store for the first time, and I want to play in a tournament, but I don't have a standard deck because I only play at home, and I've got cards from way back when, you know. So they sell at the local game store. You know, they sell you a deck. They sell you a standard deck, and it's basically this Planeswalker deck here. You buy this Planeswalker deck.
And this has actually happened to us one time. It wasn't a Planeswalker deck, but it was a pre-constructed deck, and it was standard one night, and Steve forgot his standard deck at home and said, you know what, I'll try out one of these decks here at the local game store. It's like $15.
It was worthless. You know, of course I came in last place. Wizards of the Coast can do so much better. Like, what are they doing? Is my question. What are they doing? They can come up with... They have some of the best minds in Magic working for them. And you're telling me the best constructed deck that they can come up with is a Planeswalker deck? That you can hardly even use it to keep up with, you know, your play group. Like, all of our friends, they've got decks way better than a Planeswalker deck. And I mean, we have them too, but it's just... It's too much product in the wrong direction. Yeah. I know that, you know, Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, these are companies. These are companies, and companies care about money. And they've shown that people buy this product. People buy Magic the Gathering product. So let's put out as much as we can. However, they also decided to have a Pro Tour. They decided to support a Pro Tour. And I'm going to tell you, this is one of the main keys to Magic the Gathering. It is their Pro Tour. But if you're going to do something like that, you have to know that most of your players are going to be focused on winning. They're going to be focused on trying to have the best deck. So stop printing all this junk cards, you know. It's basically hard toilet paper.
Yeah, we've got right now we're going through all of our commons, and we're trying to resort and reorganize, as most people have to, as more stuff comes out. We have 2 card boxes that are the two-lane card boxes, or 3-lane, whatever they are, just filled with commons that we have more than 8 of. We keep 8 commons since there's 2 of us, 2 play sets. You know, if we need to keep a few more, we can dig them out. We don't throw them away. But whenever you have that much oversaturation of your commons and even uncommons, sometimes even rares that are worth, you know, 62 cents whenever it's supposed to be a rare card, it's a little crazy. Because I started buying the Planeswalker decks. I just got into Magic during Kaladesh, so I was like, hey, let's buy these pre-constructed decks, because I thought, you know, that might be a good place for me to start. And we already had a lot of the cards I didn't know about. It's become too much. There's just too much. It's more quantity than quality. They need to go for quality over quantity. And right now the quantity is all that matters. And I just want to reiterate that we are in no way dogging Wizards of the Coast. Like, we're not mad at them. We don't hate Magic, obviously. We're doing this podcast because we love it and we care about it. It's like disciplining a child. We're like, okay, now listen, you're disappointing me. I need you to do a little better in this. And we still love a lot of the other product that we get. You know, booster packs are still fun to open, but it's just all these extras that they're coming out with that can sort of hinder more than help you.
Yeah, because if you want to start playing Magic, you have no idea anything you know about it, you know zilch, and you try to start playing, where do you start? How do you start? What do you do first?
You can get the intro decks from the local game store. But
so first, then you've got to find your local game store, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I live in Cut and Shoot, Texas, and there is no game store over there. Say there is no game store there. The closest store that you can buy a Magic card physically without going online is Walmart. Okay, so you go to Walmart, you buy these cards, but there's so much product, you don't know which cards to buy. So maybe you have a friend or something like that, but say you don't. I feel that Wizards of the Coast is losing faith in local game stores and moving more towards the superstores, the Targets, the Walmarts, even the online stores, And I understand a lot of times you are in an area where you don't have one. And I love the idea of having things like Magic Online to where you can still play. You can still have those instances of playing. But I think that Wizards of the Coast is just moving more towards the superstores. And they're putting out all this extra product that we don't need, And
you can't even sell bulk commons anywhere because nobody wants them. Someone was telling me online you can sell 1,000 bulk commons for like $3 or something like that. And that's just crazy to me because you spend, when you calculate it, $3 to $4 a pack, depending on where you're buying it. And how many commons are there? 6, 7, something like that in there in a pack. And, then let's say you open 5 packs, that's $20. And then you get, if it's 7 times 5, 35, cards. And 7 of them may be the same. 8 of them may be the same, and then you may have another set where you get 4 of the same one, and it becomes overwhelming, and there's nowhere to put them short of just throwing them away. I tried creating stuff with them even, but short of putting them on a table and then putting some glaze over it in order to make yourself a cool tabletop, it becomes useless. And then we have the complete other end where Mana Drain is worth $100.
Yeah, and I think that it was the last unset, or maybe the one before that, where Wizards of the Coast ended up just burning a lot of their product because they had printed so much of it that they had so much extra of it. They just lit whole pallets on fire just to get rid of all of the stuff, and that kind of thing just blows me away. That's how they feel about the cards, whereas us, we're putting them in sleeves and putting them in binders. We'll put them in a safe and keep them locked up nice and tight. Our friends can only touch them if they're wearing specific types of gloves. But Magic will just light their whole palette on fire to get rid of the excess, I think that's just because they're printing too much product. Granted, I know that their printing company loves the hell out of them. They're making some money out of it, but they're oversaturating the market, and it's making the distance between the expensive cards and the inexpensive cards stay the same or increase. You're supposed to bring them together because Magic the Gathering is supposed to be a game where everybody can come and play. It's supposed to be that kind of game where no matter what your lifestyle, your background, your race, your ethnicity, this is the kind of game that everybody can come in and join and play. It's known all around the world.
Yeah, the Pro Tour alone, you see people from an ungodly amount of countries playing against each other in Magic.
It's a world-renowned game. So it's supposed to be accessible to everyone. Yet sometimes I feel that they're not helping the lower guy do it. You usually will win your, maybe not the Pro Tour, but the local game store if you have the money to buy the cards. If you buy the expensive cards, you'll probably win. And you may not be the best player. You may not know the best synergy. But if you buy a deck that, you buy the cards that someone won with on the Pro Tour, you'll win. You'll win with them. Because those are the better cards. I mean, the Pro Tour guys, they know what the good cards are and what aren't. And a lot of it's, trial and error, of course. But if you buy those decks, you'll win. However, those decks are super expensive. I mean, not to mention the modern decks. Jesus Christ, you're looking at $1,000 for a decent modern deck.
That's why we haven't gotten into modern. We're just not ready to go there yet.
And I think that some of those expensive cards that are holding the modern, I think those expensive cards that hold the modern's top slots can be reprinted. If you're going to be printing 5 million copies of
Consecrated Sphinx.
Yeah.
You can print other stuff too. But I mean, going back, we're gonna wrap this up pretty soon. We don't want to, talk your ears off. But going back to Iconic Masters, there's not a whole lot that got printed that to me was iconic. There's a lot of things they printed in this set that in other sets are worth 37 cents or something like that. And I know that you can't print an entire set that is, all mythics and rares like we were talking about earlier, but give me a little bit more, other than, let's see, Doomblade.
When I think iconic, I think of things like the Mox Opals. You know, I think of dragons or elves or merfolk. I think those are the iconic things of Magic.
And make them rare, make them mythic. That's fine. Don't make them in every pack, but make them. Give me a chance to get them rather than pulling, Pristine Talisman or Wall of Roots, which I know isn't worth that much, but, give me something that I'm going to use. Like, Kiki Jiki was good, Obnixilis, Consecrated Sphinx, Avacyn, I appreciate those, but that's I'm looking at the first 3 rows by rarity here, and that's it. Maybe the 4th row with all of the stars, Morning Star, Tide Star, Evening Star, Ancestral Vision, and Cryptic Command, but it's as you go down and down into the uncommons, there's just less and less that I really care about and even recognize. Someone, not having been in Magic that long, I've come to recognize some of the more popular cards, but a lot of these cards I had never seen, and so they're not super iconic, I guess. So yeah, just a little bit disappointing, but we can go ahead and wrap this up.
And thanks for listening to our wrap sesh here on Past Turns Magic the Gathering. Hopefully we'll be back next week with another episode of probably we'll delve deeper into Iconic Masters.
Talk about what we pulled.
We may even do a video over it. Upload that on YouTube. Possibly a box opening. Just stay tuned, and thanks for listening.